Hey guys, so today we've got a good old vampire and it's pretty simple. So if you're in need of a last minute costume idea, I hope this will help you out and let's get started. The lenses I'm wearing today are the style Whiteout Vampire from Samhain Contact Lenses, and if you want to check them out, all of their information is always linked down below. So to start off the makeup, I'm just using my usual foundation, which is a Kat Von D Lock-It foundation in the shade Light 45 Neutral, and I'm just buffing that all over my entire face using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. You can always take this a little bit more pale or use your regular foundation shade as well. I'm going to go ahead and highlight using a white concealer. This one is the Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer in the shade Whiteout, and I'm applying this to all the high points of my face where we would normally highlight, and then kind of just blending that in to the entire face and down onto the neck, just to make our entire base a little bit more pale. You can also use a white cream makeup if you want to, or you can totally skip this step if you don't want to add any highlight. Now we're just setting the entire face using a translucent powder. Now I'm going to start contouring using one of the NYX HD Blushes. This one's in the shade Taupe, and I'm first applying that along the cheekbones, blending it in toward the nose and corners of the mouth, and then down toward the jawline. I'm also applying this just underneath the bottom lip as well as along the sides of the nose just a little bit. I'm also blending this up onto the temples and around the forehead. Then if your costume isn't going to be covering it, you can take this contouring down onto the neck and the collarbone and shoulders just to make everything more cohesive. I'm also applying these contours especially along the cheeks, darker and more intense than I normally would. I'm then applying an eyeshadow primer all over the lids as well as underneath the eyes, and I'm using a dense kind of fluffy concealer brush to blend all that in. Once I've applied and blended out that eyeshadow primer, I'm basing out my eyeshadow using the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in the shade Dark Brown. I'm applying this to the lid up to the crease and then using a clean blending brush to soften up all the edges. And when I redid this to shoot the intro footage, I applied a bit more of this brown and blended it all the way up to the inner part of the brow. So you can play around with that, and you can always change it up if you know that there's something that works better for you. After applying that brown base, I'm going in with a bright red eyeshadow. This is a NYX Primal Color in the shade Hot Red, and I'm just applying that all over the eyelid up to the crease where we applied that brown, really packing that color on and building it up until you're happy with the opacity. Again, blending out those edges to soften them. And be sure to really tap off your brush and press that shadow into the lids to help minimize any fallout. I'm then switching to an orange eyeshadow and mainly applying that around the outside edges to give the eyeshadow a warmer, more rusty tone. As I'm applying this orange, I'm really blending that up toward the inner part of the brow. I'm going back and forth between my eyeshadow and the blending brush to build up that color until I'm happy with it. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other eye. So this is what our eyeshadow is looking like so far, and then I decided to follow those same steps underneath the eye as well. So we're first applying that dark brown jumbo eye pencil along the lower lash line, blending it out using this time a pencil brush since it's a bit more precise, and then applying that red eyeshadow over top, followed by the orange, blending that mainly around the edges. As I'm blending out that orange eyeshadow underneath the eyes, I'm also going to smudge it out a bit so it's not a totally perfect, pretty blend. Then to make the brows just a bit more pale, I'm applying some of my foundation to them just using a spoolie brush, and I'm going to kind of move the brush back and forth so that the hairs are totally covered, and then I'm going to set that using some translucent powder. If you want to, you could totally block out your brows as well. I will have that video linked around here if you're interested in that. Where we blended out that foundation a bit underneath the brows, I'm going to add some of that orange eyeshadow back in. I also decided to add some of the contouring along the jawline, making sure to really blend that up onto the jawline as well as down onto the neck. I then applied a little bit more of my foundation over my lips and set it with a translucent powder. Then I couldn't quite decide what else I wanted to do on the lips, so I'm moving back to finish the eyes real quick. And to do that, I'm using a dark brown gel pencil liner. This one is from NYX, and I'm applying that around the entire waterline, smudging it out a bit along the lower lash line, and then setting it in place using that orange eyeshadow. Once I'm done with this, the eyes are going to be totally done, but you can always add some mascara and false lashes if you want to. Then moving back to the lips, I'm taking the orange eyeshadow, applying a little bit of that to the very center of the lips, and then I'm also on the bottom lip going to blend that down in the center just a little bit. Then I'm going in with a chocolatey brown liquid lipstick. This one is Jeffree Star's Dominatrix, and I'm taking that on a super fine detail brush. This one is just a tiny paintbrush from Michaels, and I'm gonna start creating some lines coming from the very center of the lips. For the most part, I'm using my wrinkles as a guide to create these lines, and I'm taking these from longest to shortest as we work our way from the center of the lips out to the corners of the mouth. I'm also creating some more vein-like lines by adding a bit of a squiggle to them, and then smaller lines coming off of those lines. And then in between all of the longer lines, I'm creating really fine short lines to create a little bit of shading along the center of the lip, and then I'm gonna add even more of that lipstick to the very center of the lips and blend it out to create more of a shadow and give it a nice blend into the lines. I'm then using my foundation brush without adding any new product to it and just blending out the ends of all the lines to give them a softer blend into the skin. Then I'm using those same techniques to do the bottom lip. So this is what our lips ended up looking like, and then this wig I got from Amazon, and once I put it on I remembered that I wanted to add something else. So we're creating a bit of a furrowed brow here, and I'm first going in with that contour shade that we use on a kind of pointed concealer brush, and I'm applying that around the inner part of the brows, and then I'm also creating another wrinkle inside of those ones. If you look at pictures of vampires, you'll see that some have a super intense furrowed brow and they've got lots of wrinkles going on. So we want to create that, only a more subtle version. Once I have those shadows mapped out, I'm going in with a black body paint, again on a small detail brush, to define those lines. You can see that those inner lines are a bit shorter than those ones right next to the brows. Then I decided to take those main lines and curve them up and around the brow area to give it a little more shape, and then I'm going to go in again with my foundation brush without adding any product to it and just blend over that to start softening those lines. Then we're going to go back in with that first brush that we used and blend that along those lines to start creating some shadows, and we want to blend both in and out from those lines a little bit to start making it look a bit more dimensional. These areas would be curved, so we want to create these shadows so that the lines don't appear that they're just sitting flat on our face. I'm also adding some of my regular foundation in between those lines to give it a bit of a highlight, and you can also use an even lighter shade or a white if you want it to pop out even more. I'm also using this foundation to help finish blending out any lines that I feel are too harsh. So once we've done that, the makeup is totally done. I think it's a pretty simple one, so I hope that you guys enjoyed it. and I hope that this will help you out if you're in need of a last minute costume idea. The fangs I got from Spirit Halloween, and they are the scarecrow fangs in the small deluxe style. The neck corset was provided by Lake Avenue, and then the dress I borrowed from my sister, and it is a Free People dress. I'll also leave the ingredients that I used to make the edible fake blood down in the description, and you can also check out Goldie Starling's fake blood recipe because that's the one that I based mine off of. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you had a fun and safe Halloween weekend and that you have fun tonight if you're going out. Let me know what you guys decided to be down in the comments, and I will see you next time.